Hi guys, welcome from me, Championship Manager 0102, the game that just keeps going. Okay, so today's video, gone to the ODB today for today's demonstration. So we've all got our go-to players, haven't we? You know, let's talk ODB here. We've all got our players that we always go to, or you can always pick up. But let's take, for example, Kennedy Bakarugu at Hammarby. And I think if you don't get him straight away, he'll tend to sign a new contract for about 240,000 release clause. So most go-to players we all remember, but then there's always that one that you forget, and you think, shit. You know, Maxim Sigalko. I mean, I'm on the fence really whether he should be in the game, but he is a real player. Tomadira, in my opinion, is a no-go because he's not a genuine player. Anyway, the short and long of it is, right, I am going to show you very quickly, very briefly, just loading a shortlist. Loading a shortlist, saving a shortlist, but more so ODB players. You know, the ODB, the real go-to players. That and the chances are, I will put out, there's going to be a host of players that I've not got on my shortlist here that someone has had success with somewhere along the line. Because as I've said on one of my previous videos, I do a lot of my saves in England. Obviously, if you start a game hypothetically with Argentina, you're going to find gems, and I'm going to be oblivious to them, because obviously, if there's an Argentinian gem that you know of, I'm not going to find him with this game that I'm creating right now. As you can see, it's starting with just purely as England. What I have done is I've only set it with just England. I have done it on a max database, hence it taking a little bit of time to start up this bloody dinosaur of a laptop. But what I've done is here, I've got a shortlist saved of about, oh god, I want to say between 30 and 50 players. Now, if you can think off the top of your head, think of some real go-to players. Now, these go-to players are not just from a top flight perspective. There's still players that I remember that are not on my shortlist. For example, Mark Kerr. Mark Kerr's a go-to player. You won't always get him immediately, but he will tend to sign a new contract with Falkirk. And he, in my opinion, Mark Kerr can cut it at the top. Abga Barsam, he's a player you can pick up for about 80, 90 grand, but he tends not to cut it in the top flight. So let's just. Oh my god! I'm trying to fucking do two things at once here. The fucking div. Okay. So what we'll do is we will start as Arsenal. Okay, so here we go then. So purely, when you've built your shortlist, right? So you're adding players. Let's hypothetically say we just add this guy, and so on and so on and so on. You can just purely save your shortlist. Okay, save it, and it'll go into your search folder within your CM directory. So scrap that, let's load. Let me load new. So these are the go-to players. So I said 30 to 50, didn't I? 67 players. You can filter it clearly by interested and stuff like that. So let me go through these players. Let's start from the goalkeepers. We all know who Shortlists is, the goalkeeper. If I do mispronounce any of these, tough shit. Shortlists is certainly one of my go-to goalkeepers. You can normally get him for about 2.8 million. Eddie Gustafsson never really does it. Looks the bollocks, got the determination, he's got some real, I mean, he seems to have loaded it really well here, but he never really cuts it. I don't think I've ever even had Isaacson. He don't really ever make the move, I don't think. He tends to sign a new contract. Ian McCalden, decent from the lower league perspective, Ian McCalden. I think he tends to get unhappy. And Ramon is a free transfer. So I've got a blend of go-to players from a lower league challenge perspective to a top flight maybe. Jamie Victory. Now, can Jamie Victory cut it in the top flight? In my opinion, no. I think there's better players out there, definitely. I mean, he looks the bollocks. I mean, if you were to start as a first division team or a second division, Victory is probably a good acquisition. Ibrahim Said, you don't have to beat around the bush to get him on the work permit. You'll get him at 13 grand a week. Saeed is a good solid performer. Best position for Saeed, in my opinion, probably DMC. I don't think he's got the positioning to work in DC, but again, each to their own. Mark Bircham, he's on there, but I don't think I ever really get him. I think he just looks good, and we all know who this guy is, don't we? Mike Duff. Now Mike Duff, particularly from a lower league perspective, always performs, and I think to many people he performs at the top flight as well. But I'll always play him at right back, but he has no passing, he has no dribbling, he has no crossing. You know, he almost he should almost be a centre half. But even that, I mean, it's bizarre, isn't it? Obviously, we all know the Swedes. There's plenty of Swedes out there. Patrick Eriksson, Olsen never really cuts it. Teddy Lukic, we all know who Teddy Lukic is. Another one of the Swedes. The very versatile Lucas Neal. I've probably got Stephen Reed down here somewhere as well. Okoronkwo, obviously you've got to get around the work permit for him, because he will not sign, he will not be given a work permit unless you offer the 35 grand a week. David Prutton, very good player. Stephen Reed, there he is. Have you ever seen it where your own player your own team is interested in your own player? Well, that's how that works, because I've loaded up a shortlist. So if ever you see it and you think, how does that work? So you've seen when the tabloids saying Arsenal are on the verge of signing Ashley Cole, and you think, what the fuck, he's already there. But that's why that happens, is because it says Arsenal are interested in him. It's because I've loaded up a short list, and that's why it is. I can't even remember this guy. Gonzalez, left back, clearly I've picked him up, spotted him from somewhere. Taribo West, rock solid player, definitely worth it. NDI, great player. Again, the work permit is a bit of an issue with that. Ricky Chimicha. Sean Davies, I think he's a bit injury prone, as it says there on the fourth column there, 18, but great player. Let's keep it going. Steve Finnan, I think Fulham is a great save on the ODB. Fulham have got some fucking great players, but Steve Finnan, like Sean Davies there, he's also got an injury proneness of 18. Joseph, or Pep Guardiola, what a player, eh? What a fucking player. Now, we've all got him now. He is a real prolific performer, particularly lower leagues, is Steve Hasham. There are lots that I've missed, of course, like I said, so feel free to jot them down in the box there, and I can add them to this shortlist. Mark Kerr, you could probably get him for about 1.7, 1.8 immediately, but what you've got to be careful of, right, is, but same with Bakarugu. You offer 600-700, they reject it. You offer, they reject it. He gets unhappy. He don't sign a new contract, because ultimately he'll sign a contract with a release clause, and you can get him as little as sort of 500-600 grand. Justin Walker, another solid performer, particularly at lower leads, and you've just got to look really at the teamwork, technique, work rate to showcase just how good he really is. Richie Wellens, an absolute assist machine. If you don't get Mark Kerr, Richie Wellens is the next best thing. Absolute solid. Someone I don't really get very often. Work permit is an issue as well in England. Agahoa. Now, Ariztizabal, the Colombian, you can get him on the work permit. He's a good player. Lower leagues. We mentioned him that we Kennedy Bakarugu. Doesn't look that great. Selakovic, he always performs well for me. Great player. Gary Teal, don't often play wingers, but Gary Teal, from what I can recall, is quite a good performer. Ryan Williams doesn't look great, but does perform. Great player. You'll get him for about 600-700 grand. Bergstrom, if you play the wingers, you'll get him for about 90-100 grand. Let me just put it out right. If you've got a Swedish League Open, you will it will cost you a lot more. Same with Bakarugu, same with Barsum, same with all the Swedes. So you'll get him for about 90 grand. Okay, Joe Cole. The reason I've got him there is because he's a player that you want to aim for if you're starting a game as Man United or Leeds. I mean, in my opinion, Joe Cole, more often than not, is a £50 million player. Magni Josef is a decent player, Magni Josef, but you've got to get a little bit of luck to get success from him. Again, another free transfer you can get on the work permit, certainly worth it. You know who that is. Heggie Danielson, a little bit of a soft spot for him because I'm Peterborough based. Fernandez, I think it was Gary Johnson that told me him, and I think I added him to my list. Gary Johnson said he was a good player. I've not seen much of him personally. Another one of the old Swedes. Kimi Kallstrom, you all know who Kimi Kallstrom is. Kallstrom, you'll get him on a release clause of around 1.8 to 2.2 if you can persevere. Karagunas is a fucking great player, but it is some ball ache to get a bid accepted from PAO. Stephen Pearson, You can get Pearson at sort of second, third tier. Pearson really does develop brilliantly. He is a very good player. Wallister, don't know, he's worthy at the lower leagues. Barson will perform miracles at lower leagues. Brozek will perform brilliantly at the top level. Work permit is an issue, so you will need to offer 35 grand a week. Luis Figo, I've got him on there because I just think he looks the bollocks. Ortega, same with him. Luis Sahar, again, Fulham, but again, injury prone 15. Sahar is a good performer, and I think Sahar's best position is at top in my opinion. Tommy Smith does very well. You'll get him on a release clause between 2.2 to 2.8 if you can persevere. Wallander, another one of those cheap Swedes. Claudio Lopez, another one of the real, big saves. Gustavo Lopez. Now this next player, he was one of the go-to players that me and my brother went for. Onasimo. You'll get him for about 90, 100 grand. And I'll tell you in a moment who I partner him with if I'm starting a lower league game. Firstly, definitely my go-to player in any save. Really top flight because you've got to get around the work permit. Arcadius back, absolute monster. Dave Collins, I think a lot of people are familiar with Dave Collins of getting him at lower leagues. He's not someone I've really got many times. I think there's a lot of options for strikers, but you just got to see his finishing and his pace to know that he's a good, decent player and he will perform. Kiko's one of those free transfers. It is difficult to get him in all honesty. River tend to always come in, so if you can get him, then great. Nicholas Anelka, well, I've got him there because he will get you goals. He will also get you unhappiness within the squad, as you all know. Michael Dunwell, a bit like the Dave Collins really. Dunwell will perform at lower league. There's my man Leo Fortune West. He's who I would always have up top with Onasimo because you can get them probably both combined for about 150 grand. Leo Fortune West will do a job for you in the 3rd division. Geezer. I think my brother told me about him. Again, a lot of options for strikers. Geezer is a good player, and he will get you goals. He's got long shots, he's got pace. He hasn't really got the finish on this particular save, but he is only 20. Definitely worth it. One of my favourite players, really. This was a player that I think I used to always go for when I first started playing CM, like 20 odd years ago. Michaelis Constantinou, absolute monster of a player. Still only 23, so if you can get him and Karagunas, which can be difficult, then you're laughing. Robnik, not someone I've really got. I think he's just there for the future. He's got determination. And finally then, I knew his dad. He's from Peterborough, Dale Watkins, and he was just someone. He's got the finishing. You can see he's got the ability to finish, and he's really a bit like Leo Fortune West. I tend to have him as my backup if I'm starting as a real shitty team. And obviously I've started at Arsenal, so 12 of those players are not even interested in me. So that is, there are players out there that I've not even got Maxman Zagalko on there. Can you fucking believe that? So I haven't really played ODB for quite some time. There he is. Let's just go to Maxman Zagalko, and there he is. You'll get Maxman Zagalko on the work permit if you offer 35 grand. And like I said, there is a lot that I've missed. There was, I've just remembered someone actually. There's an Egyptian forward. Now, let me see if I can. I don't think. Oh, I see. It's because I've only got the English league. Oh, I get it. Yeah. So, do you know what? I thought I had more players. So that there's an Egyptian. We call him the pre-gen of Mo Salah, Reyes or something like that. Fucking great player. So if you've got more players you want to add to this, guys, drop them in the box down there, and I will add it to my shortlist. And if you want any videos doing within the CMO 102 franchise, do let me know and I'll try and do it. So until next time, guys, it's take it easy from me.